The galaxy had always thrummed with the hum of war, but today felt different. Aboard the mighty Zarathi warship Nemesis *, Commander Xylox surveyed the star-speckled void outside the viewport, his green skin shimmering in the soft blue light of the control room. The crew bustled around him, their confidence palpable, fueled by the promise of conquest. Xylox's chest swelled with pride. He had led his people through many successful campaigns, and the conquest of Earth would be no exception. "Commander," a tactical officer reported, "we've intercepted transmissions from Earth. Their defenses are minimal at best. It seems they believe themselves safe behind their primitive technology." Xylox turned, his sharp features twisted into a smirk. "Humans, with their slow, lumbering ships and clumsy strategies, will be an easy target. Prepare the fleet for a full assault. We shall show them the futility of resistance." Meanwhile, thousands of miles away on Earth, Captain Ilara Quinn sat in a dimly lit underground facility, surrounded by holographic displays flickering with data, her brow furrowed in concentration as she analyzed the latest intelligence reports. The sight of the Zarathi fleet heading towards the solar system sent shivers down her spine. Each minute wasted could mean the difference between survival and annihilation. Ilara, her chief engineer, Mia, interrupted, her voice tinged with urgency. "We've detected unusual energy readings just beyond the asteroid belt. It could be a Zarathi scout ship." Ilara nodded, her mind racing. "We need to gather intel before they reach Earth. Mobilize our prototype fighters. We can't let them catch us off guard." As the team prepped for their mission, tension crackled in the air. Ilara gathered her crew, their faces a mix of determination and fear. "I know what we're up against. The Zarathi think we're slow and unprepared, but we have something they don't. A will to fight. We're not just defending our planet. We're fighting for our very existence." The room fell silent, each member absorbing her words. They exchanged glances, fortified by the gravity of their mission. Minutes later, the sleek prototype fighters, dubbed Phantoms, launched from the hidden base. As they broke through the atmosphere, the deep blue of Earth's oceans sparkled beneath them, a stark contrast to the grim reality that lay ahead. Ilara piloted her craft, her heart pounding with adrenaline, determined to confront the Zarathi before they unleashed their full might. Approaching the coordinates, she called out, scanning the vastness of space, "Stay sharp, everyone." Suddenly, the display lit up with the outline of a Zarathi scout ship, sleek and menacing against the backdrop of stars. Ilara's pulse quickened. There it is. Prepare for engagement. As the Phantoms closed in, the Zarathi ship appeared oblivious to their approach. "They don't even know we're here," Mia whispered in awe. "Let's give them a surprise they won't forget," Ilara replied, her voice steady. She flipped a switch, activating their cloaking devices. The fighters shimmered and disappeared, melding into the cosmic shadows. Ilara felt a surge of confidence. The humans may be underestimated, but she knew their resourcefulness could turn the tide. She glanced at her crew, resolute and ready. "On my mark. 3, 2, 1, now." With a swift motion, Ilara ordered an attack, the Phantoms emerging from stealth to unleash a barrage of missiles. The brilliance of their strike illuminated the darkness of space, and for the first time, the Zarathi would see that humans were far from slow. The battle was just beginning, but Ilara felt the spark of hope igniting within her. The tide of war might be shifting after all. The chaos of battle erupted around Ilara as the missiles streaked toward the unsuspecting Zarathi scout ship. Bright explosions illuminated the void, and the distant starfields danced with fiery light. The crew's shouts filled the cockpit, excitement mingling with adrenaline as they executed the first strike against their formidable foe. "Direct hit," Mia yelled, her hands flying over the control panel. The image of the Zarathi ship flickered and trembled as the crew cheered, but Ilara's gaze remained focused, sensing the impending danger. "Don't celebrate yet. They'll regroup," she warned, her voice cutting through the euphoria. Stay alert. True to her instincts, the remnants of the Zarathi ship began to retaliate, weapons firing wildly into the darkness. The crew's cheers faded into anxious murmurs as they felt the urgency of the moment. Ilara guided her fighters into evasive maneuvers, narrowly dodging energy blasts that lit up the void around them. "Captain, they're deploying more ships," one of her pilots shouted, panic creeping into his voice as multiple Zarathi vessels materialized from the shadows, forming a formidable blockade. Ilara's heart raced. "We need to fall back. Gather intel and regroup." As the phantoms darted away, the sight of the Zarathi ships firing in frustration served as a stark reminder of the superior firepower they faced. They had delivered a blow, but the war was far from won. The team's retreat was strategic. They needed to analyze the data they had collected and prepare for what lay ahead. Back in the underground facility, the atmosphere was thick with tension. Ilara's team hurried to analyze the reconnaissance data, holographic displays illuminating their worried faces. "They're planning a full assault on Earth," Maya said, her brow furrowed as she sifted through the information. "We've confirmed their fleet is much larger than we anticipated." Ilara leaned closer to the display, piecing together the fragments of intelligence. "If we can predict their movement, we can set traps. We need to think like them, force them into a vulnerable position." Discussions erupted, strategies overlapping as her crew members began to brainstorm ideas. Voices rose in fervor, each suggestion fueling the collective determination. A plan began to take shape: lure the Zarathi into a corridor of asteroids where their larger ships would struggle to maneuver. "Imagine them chasing us, thinking they're closing in for the kill," Ilara proposed, her excitement rising. "We use the asteroids to mask our position, hitting them with everything we have when they least expect it." Mia chimed in. "We could modify the drones to create false signals, leading them deeper into the field. It's risky, but it might just work." The weight of responsibility settled heavily on Ilara's shoulders, but she felt a flicker of hope. The idea of using the environment to their advantage was a testament to human ingenuity. As they finalized their strategy, she could sense the morale of her crew beginning to shift. Later that evening, the team gathered for a brief moment of respite. Ilara found herself reflecting on the gravity of their mission. She shared a moment of camaraderie with her crew, acknowledging their fears and uncertainties, yet also their determination to protect their home. As laughter and stories filled the room, a sudden alert shattered the moment. An incoming communication from the command center. The screen flickered to life, revealing an urgent message from the United Earth Federation. "Captain Quinn, we're receiving reports of a massive Zarathi fleet approaching. We need your team to lead the defense. Time is of the essence. Prepare your fighters." Ilara's heart sank, but she felt the surge of resolve as she looked at her crew, ready to face the impending storm. "Let's move out, everyone. We're about to show them just how wrong they are to underestimate us." With determination igniting their spirits, they prepared for what lay ahead, ready to confront the shadow of war looming over their world. The Nemesis glided through the darkness of space, its sleek, menacing hull a testament to the power and arrogance of the Zarathi Empire. Commander Xylox stood at the helm, his sharp eyes scanning the stars as his fleet prepared for the final approach towards Earth. A thin smile played on his lips. He relished the thought of subjugating yet another planet, crushing its inhabitants beneath the might of his forces. "Commander, our scouts report that the human vessels are regrouping," one of his officers announced, a note of unease creeping into his voice. "They seem to be preparing for a coordinated defense." Xylox chuckled, a sound devoid of warmth. "Let them prepare. Humans are creatures of habit, predictable in their fear. We'll simply overwhelm them." Meanwhile, deep in the heart of Earth's defense operations, Ilara and her team monitored the approaching Zarathi fleet. The air in the command center was charged with tension as they tracked the enemy's movements across the stars. "Look at their formation," Mia pointed at the holographic display, her fingers flying over the controls. "They're relying on their sheer numbers to intimidate us. If we can strike quickly, We might disrupt their coordination. Ilara's mind raced as she considered their options. We'll need to draw them into the asteroid belt. It'll limit their firing range and give us an advantage. Let's divide our fighters into small squadrons to harass their flanks. As the team finalized their plan, they felt the weight of the moment settle over them. The Zarathi may have underestimated humanity's resilience, but they would soon learn that the fight for Earth was far from over. "Ready your phantoms," Ilara ordered, her voice steady. "We're going to hit them where it hurts." The crew moved swiftly, adrenaline coursing through their veins. Within moments, the fighters launched from the facility, breaking through the atmosphere and entering the vastness of space. As they approached the asteroid belt, the tension was palpable, every pilot acutely aware of the stakes. "Phantom Squadron 1, you're with me," Ilara instructed, her heart pounding as she led the charge. "Stay low and use the asteroids as cover. We need to stay off their radar as long as possible." The Phantoms maneuvered deftly through the asteroid field, their hulls blending seamlessly with the rocky environment. Ilara could feel the thrill of the hunt as they neared the advancing Zarathi fleet, their ships glinting like predators in the distance. "Engage on my mark," she commanded, her breath catching in anticipation. As they inched closer, she felt the tension rise among her crew, their collective focus sharpening into a single point of determination. "Mark," she shouted. The Phantoms erupted from their hiding spots, a flurry of missiles streaking toward the unsuspecting Zarathi ships. The explosions lit up the darkness, chaos erupting as the enemy scrambled to respond. Direct hits on their outer ships. Mia exclaimed, excitement evident in her voice. The squadron pressed the attack, weaving through the asteroids, firing volleys with precision that took the Zarathi by surprise. "Don't get too cocky," Ilara reminded them, weaving her ship through the debris and narrowly avoiding a retaliatory blast. "We can't afford to lose focus." The battle intensified as the Zarathi regained their composure. Energy blasts ripped through the asteroid field, forcing the Phantoms to dodge and weave in a deadly game of cat and mouse. Ilara's heart raced as she executed a sharp turn, bringing her fighter in line with a flanking Zarathi ship. "Phantom Squadron 2, focus fire on that cruiser," she commanded. Her voice cut through the chaos, steady and strong. As they coordinated their strikes, the realization dawned on Ilara. They were not just fighting to survive. They were proving themselves. Each hit they scored was a testament to human ingenuity, resilience, and the unyielding spirit that coursed through every member of her crew. Suddenly, a distress signal blared through her comms. One of her pilots had been hit, spiraling into the vastness of space. "I'm going down," he shouted, panic in his voice. "Stay calm. Eject. Eject." Ilara yelled, but she could see the life sign on her display flickering out. A sense of dread washed over her, but she pushed it aside. There was no room for fear. They had to fight harder. "Let's finish this," Ilara urged, her resolve hardening. The first strike had opened their eyes to the truth. Humanity was not to be underestimated. And this battle was just the beginning. The chaos of battle faded into the background as Ilara's heart pounded in her chest. The loss of her pilot weighed heavily on her mind, but there was no time to grieve. The Nemesis and its armada were regrouping, and she knew that if they didn't act quickly, the momentum they had built could easily slip away. Back in the command center, her team was already hard at work analyzing the data from their recent engagement. Holographic screens flickered with information, displaying the movements of the Zarathi fleet as they began to stabilize after the initial assault. "Look at this," Maya said, her voice urgent as she gestured to a display. "They're forming a tighter formation. They're trying to minimize their losses and maximize their firepower." Ilara leaned closer, her brow furrowing. "If we can create chaos within their ranks again, we might force them to split their forces. But we'll need to hit them harder and faster this time." "Agreed," another crew member chimed in. "We need to outsmart them. We have the advantage of agility. They have the advantage of size. If we exploit the terrain again, we can turn their numbers against them. Ilara's mind raced as she began to formulate a plan. We'll need to lure them into the asteroid belt again, but this time we'll modify our drones to emit false signals. They'll think they're engaging a larger fleet than they actually are. Once they're deep in the field, we strike. As the team worked feverishly to implement the new strategy, Ilara felt a swell of pride in her crew. Their collaboration and creativity were what made them strong, and she could see their resolve hardening with each passing moment. They were no longer just defenders. They were warriors, ready to take the fight to the enemy. When they were ready, the Phantoms launched once again, this time armed with enhanced technology and a renewed sense of purpose. Ilara led them back into the vastness of space, navigating through the asteroid field with a keen sense of direction. The memory of their fallen comrade fueled her determination. "Activate the drones," she ordered, watching as the small machines buzzed to life, their lights blinking as they dispersed into the field, sending out false signals designed to mimic the energy signatures of a larger fleet. "Here they come," Mia warned as the Zarathi ships began to move, drawn in by the bait. Ilara gripped the controls tightly, her heart racing. "Stay sharp. We'll hit them when they're vulnerable." The tension in the cockpit was palpable as they watched the Zarathi ships draw closer, their formations tightening around the perceived threat. Ilara felt a rush of adrenaline as the moment arrived. "Now, let's show them what humans can do." The Phantoms erupted from their hiding places, striking with renewed ferocity. The engagement was swift and chaotic, energy beams flashing and asteroids colliding as they danced around the massive Zarathi ships. Ilara's heart surged with exhilaration. They were faster, more agile, and they had the element of surprise on their side. "Phantom Squadron 1, focus fire on the lead ship," she commanded, weaving her fighter between the larger vessels. The first volley struck true, sending debris flying and destabilizing the enemy's formation. Suddenly, an alarm blared. "Commander, they've deployed their boarding ships," Mia shouted, panic in her voice. The larger Zarathi vessels were retaliating with a new tactic, sending smaller ships to engage them up close. Ilara's mind raced. "We need to split up. Phantom Squadron 2, cover our rear and protect the base. The rest of us will take down those boarding ships." With resolve, they split their forces, diving into the fray. Ilara led the charge against the boarding ships, a flurry of energy blasts illuminating the void. She maneuvered with precision, memories of her fallen comrade driving her to fight harder. As the battle intensified, she could see the Zarathi ships faltering, their arrogance cracking under the pressure of human tenacity. "They're losing coordination," she shouted, exhilaration surging through her veins. "Keep pushing. We can break them." With every explosion and every successful strike, the truth became clearer. Humanity was not just fighting for survival. They were fighting to reclaim their destiny. And in this battle, they were beginning to carve their place among the stars, proving that even the slow could deliver a devastating blow. The battle raged in the depths of the asteroid field, chaos erupting as Ilara led her squadron against the incoming boarding ships. Energy blasts lit up the darkness, creating a deadly dance of light and shadow. Each fighter soared through the rocky maze, narrowly avoiding collisions while returning fire with fierce determination. "Watch your six," Ilara shouted over the comms, her voice steady despite the chaos. She banked sharply, firing at a boarding ship that had gotten too close to one of her pilots. The ship erupted in a fiery explosion, sending shards of metal spiraling into space. The thrill of victory surged through her, but it was quickly tempered by the realization of the stakes. Every second counted. If they could defeat the boarding ships and disrupt the Zarathi's coordination, they might just turn the tide of the battle. "Commander, they're deploying reinforcements." Mia's voice cut through the noise, urgent and clear. "More boarding ships are breaking off from the main fleet." Ilara's heart sank. They had pushed hard, but the Zarathi were regrouping faster than anticipated. "We need to create a diversion. If we can draw their attention away from the base, We might buy ourselves some time. With a calculated risk, Ilara directed her squadron to scatter. Phantom Squadron 1, head for the largest asteroid cluster. We'll set off a series of explosions to create a cloud of debris. It'll give us cover to regroup and hit them where it hurts. As her fighters veered toward the dense cluster of asteroids, Ilara felt the rush of adrenaline. They needed to be unpredictable, using their agility to their advantage. The enemy's arrogance had blinded them. Now was the time to exploit that weakness. The Phantoms darted into the cluster, and Ilara initiated the detonation sequence. A series of explosions shook the very fabric of space, creating a massive cloud of debris that obscured visibility. The blast sent fragments hurtling in all directions, a stunning display of chaos designed to confuse the Zarathi. "Now," she commanded, guiding her squadron through the debris, emerging from the other side as the cloud enveloped the enemy fleet. "Focus on their command ship. If we can disable it, we'll throw their entire operation into disarray." As they approached the Zarathi command ship, Ilara's heart raced. The crew had been forced into a defensive posture, trying to navigate through the chaos. They were vulnerable now, their arrogance crumbling like a house of cards. "Fire," she ordered, unleashing a volley of missiles aimed squarely at the command ship. The projectiles sped through the cloud of debris, striking true and causing a massive explosion that rippled through the void. Direct hit. "They're losing power," Mia shouted, her voice echoing with excitement. "We've got them on the run." Ilara felt a rush of exhilaration. They were gaining the upper hand, but the battle was far from over. Just then, an alert blared across the cockpit. "Commander, the Nemesis is repositioning. They're deploying their main cannons." Mia's voice was laced with urgency. Ilara's stomach dropped. The Nemesis was the flagship of the Zarathi fleet, and its firepower was unmatched. If they unleashed its full arsenal, the tide of battle could turn against them in an instant. "We have to take it out now," Ilara shouted, her mind racing. "We can't give them a chance to regroup." Her squadron moved into formation, every fighter synchronized as they dove toward the Nemesis. They weaved through energy blasts, the air crackling with tension. Ilara could feel her heart racing as they closed the distance. Suddenly, a blinding flash erupted from the Nemesis, illuminating the battlefield as the ship fired its main cannons. The energy beam carved through space, narrowly missing Ilara's fighter. She gasped, adrenaline surging as she maneuvered sharply to avoid the devastating blast. "Stay tight," she called, rallying her crew as they pressed on, determined to strike the flagship before it could unleash another volley. As they launched their final assault, Ilara could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on her. They were on the brink of proving that humanity could stand toe-to-toe with their most formidable foes. This was their chance to show the galaxy what they were made of. With a fierce cry, Ilara pushed the throttle to the max, leading her squadron into the heart of the battle, ready to deliver the blow that would shift the course of the war forever. The reckoning was here, and humanity was ready to fight back. The chaos of battle enveloped Ilara and her squadron as they bore down on the Nemesis, the flagship of the Zarathi fleet. The air crackled with tension, energy beams flashing dangerously close, but they had the element of surprise and determination. The powerful ship loomed ahead, its sleek form cutting through the darkness, radiating menace. "Stay sharp," Ilara shouted over the comms. "We're targeting their power core. It's our only chance to disable their main cannons." Mia's voice broke through the noise. "They're beginning to brace for impact. We need to disrupt their targeting systems first." Just as she finished her sentence, the Nemesis unleashed another devastating energy beam, cutting through the debris field and narrowly missing Ilara's fighter. The shockwave rattled her craft, but Ilara fought to maintain control. "We can't let them get their bearings. We have to engage." As they closed the distance, the Zarathi ships were finally catching on. and the Nemesis began to reposition itself, its engines roaring to life. "They're trying to escape," Mia warned, her voice urgent. "If we let them regroup, we'll lose our advantage." Ilara felt a surge of adrenaline. "We can't let that happen. Phantom Squadron, engage full throttle. We're not letting them get away." The Phantoms roared forward, leaving the cloud of debris behind as they pursued the flagship. The Nemesis attempted to turn, its massive size causing it to struggle in the narrow space between the asteroids. Ilara's mind raced with strategies, her instincts kicking in as she devised a plan. "Let's draw them into a narrow pass between those asteroids," she suggested. "If we can trap them, we'll have a clear shot at their core." "Copy that," Maya replied, determination in her voice. "Let's funnel them in." As they flew deeper into the field, Ilara could see the Nemesis struggling to navigate, its maneuverability hampered by the dense cluster of asteroids. They were getting closer, and the thrill of the chase fueled her resolve. The roar of their engines drowned out everything else as they flew through the narrow gaps, the rocks towering around them like ancient sentinels. "On my mark," Ilara shouted, adrenaline surging as they neared the choke point. The Nemesis was following, its massive hull slicing through the air, but it was too late for it to turn back now. 3, 2, 1, now. Ilara veered sharply to the side, and her squadron followed suit, slipping through the narrow passage just as the Nemesis barreled into the bottleneck. A moment later, the unmistakable sound of metal scraping against rock filled the air, followed by a shuddering explosion as the flagship's hull scraped against the asteroids. "Direct hit," Mia exclaimed. "They're losing control. Now's our chance. Everyone, concentrate fire on their power core," Ilara ordered, her voice steady despite the chaos. With precision, the Phantoms unleashed their firepower, the missiles streaking toward the Nemesis. Each strike hit true, sending shockwaves reverberating through the flagship. Alarms blared on the Nemesis as its crew scrambled to regain control. "Get us closer," Ilara urged, her heart racing. They were so close to victory now. The thought of it was intoxicating. But just as they moved in for the kill, a new wave of Zerathi fighters swarmed from behind the flagship, aiming directly for them. "Commander, we've got incoming," one of her pilots shouted. Ilara's instincts kicked in. "Split formation. Phantom Squadron 2, cover our flanks. The rest of us will keep the pressure on the Nemesis." The Phantoms broke apart, darting in different directions as the Zerathi fighters closed in. Ilara felt the thrill of the chase mix with the weight of responsibility. They were on the brink of something monumental, but they couldn't lose focus now. "Keep firing," she commanded, maintaining her target lock on the flagship. They were so close. Just a few more seconds could seal their fate. As the battle raged around them, Ilara's resolve hardened. The Nemesis was weakening, and the tide was turning. They had fought too hard to let this opportunity slip away. With every ounce of determination, she knew they were about to make history. "Together," she shouted, rallying her crew. "Let's finish this." As the Phantoms rallied for one final push, Ilara felt a surge of hope. They were not just defending their planet. They were proving that humanity would not go down without a fight. The chase was almost over, and the reckoning was near. The Phantoms surged toward the Nemesis, energy beams illuminating the darkness of space as Ilara and her crew engaged in a fierce dance of survival and defiance. The flagship's hull shimmered under the assault, but its formidable defenses were beginning to falter. Each explosion rang out like a declaration, echoing through the void as humanity fought back against its would-be conquerors. "Captain, we've compromised their shielding," Mia shouted, excitement lacing her voice. "We're clear to target the power core." Ilara felt a rush of adrenaline. "This is it. Everyone, focus fire on that core. We need to make this count." As the Phantoms moved in closer, the reality of what they were about to do sank in. The crew exchanged glances filled with a mix of determination and anxiety. They had fought hard for this moment, and now the culmination of their efforts lay just within reach. Lock onto target, Ilara commanded, her eyes narrowing as she aligned her sights. On my mark. 3, 2, 1. Now. The fighters erupted with firepower, missiles, and energy blasts raining down on the Nemesis. A series of explosions rocked the flagship, its structure creaking as the onslaught continued. But just as victory seemed inevitable, the flagship unleashed one last desperate barrage, its main cannons roaring to life in a final attempt to break free. "Watch out," Mia yelled, pulling her controls hard to the left as a beam shot through the space where they had just been. The blast sent debris flying, and Ilara felt the force of it rattling her craft. "Keep firing. We can't let up now," Ilara shouted, determination hardening her voice. They were close, so close to dismantling the beast that threatened their world. With the last remnants of its shields flickering, the Nemesis took a direct hit to its power core. The flagship shuddered violently, and for a moment, everything fell silent in the chaos of battle. The darkness of space held its breath. Then, with a blinding flash, the Nemesis erupted. A shockwave rippled through the asteroid field, sending debris flying in all directions. Ilara's heart raced as she struggled to maintain control, her fighters spiraling through the chaos. "Status report," she yelled, her voice strained against the din of alarms blaring through the cockpit. "Minor damage to our systems, but we're still operational," Maya reported, relief evident in her tone. "The Nemesis is disabled. They're losing power." Ilara took a moment to absorb the news. They had done it. Against all odds, they had taken down the flagship. The tide of battle had shifted dramatically. "Rally the squadron," she commanded, exhilaration bubbling beneath the surface. "Let's clean up the remaining fighters." As the Phantoms regrouped, Ilara felt a surge of confidence wash over her. The remaining Zarathi ships were beginning to scatter, their once formidable formation disintegrating in the wake of their flagship's destruction. "Press the attack. Don't let them escape." With renewed vigor, the Phantoms dove back into the fray. The enemy fighters were now vulnerable, their coordination faltering as they attempted to regroup. Ilara's squadron moved with precision, exploiting the disarray to score hit after hit, pushing the Zarathi back. "Captain." Incoming transmission from the Federation. Mia called out, her eyes wide as she scanned the incoming message. Ilara's heart raced as she accepted the call. A holographic image materialized, revealing a senior officer from the United Earth Federation. "Captain Quinn, we're detecting a significant drop in enemy morale. The fleet is in full retreat. Your actions today have turned the tide of this battle." Ilara felt a swell of pride. "We can't let them regroup. We need to press the attack and push them out of our system." "Understood. We're dispatching reinforcements to assist your squadron. Maintain pressure until they arrive." As the transmission ended, Ilara looked at her crew, their faces illuminated by the fading light of the battle. "We've got this, everyone. Let's finish what we started." With a renewed sense of purpose, they dove back into the chaos, every fighter working in unison as they targeted the fleeing Zarathi ships. The echoes of their earlier losses now fueled their resolve, transforming pain into strength. As the remnants of the Zarathi fleet scrambled to escape, Ilara knew one thing. They had proven their worth, and today would be a testament to humanity's resilience. The galaxy would remember this battle, and the lesson it imparted would resonate across the stars. The remnants of the Zarathi fleet scattered through the asteroid field, their once mighty formations now reduced to chaos. Ilara and her squadron of Phantoms pursued relentlessly, each pilot driven by the desire to protect their home and avenge their fallen comrades. The thrill of victory surged within her, but so did the weight of what they had endured. "Captain, we're detecting multiple ships attempting to warp out of the system," Maya reported, her fingers flying over the console. "We can't let them escape." Ilara nodded, her determination solidifying. "We have to disrupt their warp drives. Phantom Squadron, break formation. Target any ships that are preparing to jump." The squadron split apart, each fighter weaving through the asteroid field with practiced precision. Ilara led the charge, focusing on a Zarathi cruiser that had just initiated its warp sequence. She could see the energy build up on the ship's hull, a bright pulse indicating that they were on the verge of escaping. "Lock onto their warp drive," she shouted, adrenaline coursing through her veins. "Fire on my mark. 3, 2, 1. Now." The Phantoms unleashed a barrage of missiles and energy blasts, striking the cruiser just as it attempted to jump. The resulting explosion sent a shockwave through space, the cruiser's hull shattering and scattering debris in every direction. Ilara felt a mixture of satisfaction and relief. They were preventing the enemy from regrouping. "Nice shot, Captain." Mia cheered, her voice filled with excitement. Ilara allowed herself a brief smile. "We're just getting started. Let's keep pushing." As they continued their assault, the tide of battle became increasingly one-sided. The Zarathi were losing morale rapidly, their once confident demeanor crumbling under the relentless pressure of the Phantoms. The remaining ships began to realize the futility of their situation, and one by one, they turned to flee. "Captain." Incoming transmission from the Federation. Mia called out again, her tone urgent. "Put it through," Ilara instructed, her heart racing as the familiar holographic image of the Federation officer appeared once more. "Captain Quinn, your actions today have been nothing short of heroic. We're sending additional reinforcements to secure the area and assist with the cleanup. You've changed the course of this battle." Ilara's chest swelled with pride, but she also felt the ache of loss for her fallen comrades. "Thank you. We can't let them escape, though. We need to ensure that this message is clear. Humanity will not be easily defeated." "Understood. We're dispatching support now. Maintain your current strategy, and prepare to engage any fleeing vessels." As the call ended, Ilara gathered her squadron once more. "All right, team. Let's finish this. We need to send a strong message to the Zarathi Empire. They must know that humanity will fight back." With renewed vigor, the Phantoms surged forward, targeting the last of the fleeing ships. The sight of the Zarathi vessels trying to escape fueled their determination. They were no longer just defending Earth. They were establishing a legacy, a declaration of strength against a powerful foe. As the last few enemy ships fell under their fire, Ilara took a moment to breathe, gazing at the remnants of the battle. The asteroid field, once a backdrop to chaos, now stood witness to humanity's resolve. "We did it," she murmured, her heart swelling with pride. Cheers erupted over the comms, the sounds of her crew celebrating their hard-won victory. "Let's regroup and assess the damage," Ilara said, her voice cutting through the celebration. "We need to be ready for whatever comes next." As the Phantoms regrouped, a sense of camaraderie filled the air. They had faced incredible odds and emerged victorious, a testament to their strength, ingenuity, and resilience. They were no longer underdogs. They were warriors, and they had claimed their place among the stars. The Federation ships arrived moments later, their arrival heralded by bright lights and a sense of relief. Reinforcements and support were pouring in, ready to help secure the area and tend to the wounded. Ilara watched as her team embraced one another, laughter mingling with the distant sounds of the ongoing cleanup. They had fought for their home, their families, and they had proven to themselves and the galaxy that humanity would not yield. As the stars twinkled overhead, a new dawn broke across the battlefield. Today they had taken a stand, and tomorrow they would continue to fight, united and unyielding, a force to be reckoned with. The galaxy had seen the power of humanity, and it would never forget.